Political apathy is basically the people not caring enough to actually do things to make a difference in society in general.
For me, political apathy is when people lack interest in politics. They don't participate in elections. They don't participate or they don't hear the candidates out. They don't attend meeting de avance, and yeah.
For me, the way I view political apathy, it's when people refuse to participate in political matters. It's when people don't really wanna involve themselves in making huge political decisions also.
Well, political apathy is when a person or a group of people uh, don't acknowledge the importance of, specifically in this case, it's the political scene here in the Philippines. So, in short, or in the vernacular, yung mga walang pake sa political scene.
For me, political apathy is when people don't really understand or feel the relevance of the government to them.
Politics and apathy. What do these two words mean together? Political apathy, according to Magstad, is a lack of interest in politics resulting to complacency, ignorance, or the conviction that my vote doesn't really count or nobody cares what I think anyway. It is the indifference of a citizen towards political matters. Apathy, in its basic form, can be seen in our day-to-day lives. But can we see it in the political sphere? Today, we will take to the University of Delos to see if the students are aware of political apathy and if it's prevalent in the student body.
I think political apathy exists because we are too caught up with our own conveniences. Like our lives have always been more convenient and we've grown to not realize that there are other people who don't experience the same kind of privilege that we have.
For me, I believe political apathy exists because of candidates who the people or the mass people believe have failed them in pursuing their promises of giving them a better governance in their local politics or local governments.
I think it exists because there are a lot of issues regarding politics, and politics can be toxic sometimes. So I think it's a big factor for people na they don't want to involve themselves in the toxicity but in the political realm. And I think it happens because people don't really see the matter or the importance of politics within the university or even as a whole in the Philippines.
Well, there's many factors that play into that reasoning why there's a lot of apathetic people, specifically in the political scene. One of the most notable factors is that it is widely known throughout the Philippines that the government isn't exactly trustworthy or reliable. It is very evident that there's corruption, blatant corruption even, which is one of the greatest factors in why people don't really care about the political scene here in the Philippines. There are many more factors, but I believe that this is one of the biggest factors, that there's no trust between the people and the government.
I think political apathy exists because people they don't feel the relevance of institutions like the government to their basic needs, but also because the translation of the projects of institutions like the student government or the national government does not really properly address what the people want as of the moment. And I think apathy exists also because the services aren't as efficient as they could be, and because of that, people feel like they could live or they could exist without the help of the government.
Political apathy definitely has manifestations in the Philippines. It can be seen in the university as using the excuse of being unaware of a policy is not valid. It can result to being straight out misinformed about any subject matter. We can see this with the youth who were in support for martial law. It can result in creating a citizen who is not involved with the improvement of the nation, rather the bringing down and dishonor of said nation. We can see this through the internet trolls who are ignorant and apathetic to the truth.
It's important to participate in political matters such as elections because it allows us to build the foundation of what our country and what our world is going to be in the next few years. When we vote, we aren't just voting for the next few years, we aren't just voting for the now, but we're also voting for the next coming generations ahead of us. So, there.
For me, it's important to participate in political matters because it's the decisions that we make, it's the involvement that we make that states what our life will be in the upcoming years. So for example, if we don't vote today or if we don't vote in the upcoming elections, it can hinder us from having a better life or it can hinder us from having efficient governance in our local government.
I think it's important because with elections, we get to voice out our opinions, what we think is important for each and everyone. So with our participation comes our takes on relevant matters. So this also brings in accountability and opinions from different sectors. So we want to get as much opinions from different people so that we get to provide inclusive and holistic solutions for the problems we are trying to solve within the university and outside of the university.
Well, we are a democratic style of government. We follow a democratic style of government. The fact that there are people who are apathetic to the political scene, which is actually very, how should I say this, very dangerous in the fact that they are not voicing out the reasons to the government, especially when we are democratic, which means it's the people who decides what to do or what will happen in the government. The fact that they're not relaying or voicing out the reasons or their issues, which means that it isn't exactly the democracy or the democratic process we want or ideally want.
I think it's very important to participate in political matters such as elections because first it's our right to vote and it's best if we exercise it because it's our way of showing which programs or projects should be prioritized by the different candidates running. I also think it's very important that we exercise our right to vote because it's our chance to share our criticisms or share our ideas with candidates so that we could really become a more consultative government and consultative kind of leadership.
Yes. Yes.
Are you a registered voter?
No.
But do you vote in the elections here in Tacna?
Yeah.
No, I haven't because the last elections I wasn't legal yet, but I plan on registering to vote for the next elections.
But did you participate in the Delos?
Yes, I did participate.
No, I'm not, unfortunately. Due to circumstances na di ako nakapag-vote. Ay, register pala.
But did you participate in the recent Delos elections?
No, because I'm unelected.
Are you a registered voter?
Yes, I am a registered voter.
Did you participate in the recently concluded Delos elections?
Yes, I did.
Here are the qualifications needed for you to be a registered voter. First, you must be a Filipino citizen. Second, you must be at least 18 years of age. Third, you must be a resident of the Philippines for at least 1 year. Fourth, you must be a resident in the place for at least 6 months immediately preceding the election wherein you propose to vote. And lastly, you must not be disqualified by law. If you pass all these qualifications, you must now secure the following requirements. First, you must personally appear in a local COMELEC office. Second, you must present 2 valid IDs with your photograph, address, and name. Valid IDs may include your student ID, driver's license, and/or passport.
The 2016 Philippine presidential elections had an 81% voter turnout, which was the highest of the country's 3 automated elections. At least 54.5 million voters partook in the elections last May 9, 2016. In comparison, the 2010 presidential elections had a voter turnout of 74%, while the 2000 presidential elections had a 76.3%. On the other hand, in the recently concluded DLSU General Elections 2018, 52.70% of the total population of the student body in DLSU Manila casted their votes. According to the statistics presented by the DLSU COMELEC, 4,839 out of 9,181 students partook in this year's election. Voting is important because it is expected from the citizens to exercise their right to vote, especially in countries with a democratic government. Voting is your way of contributing to the progress of the society.
I think political apathy should be addressed personally and through the different things that we see around us. I guess on our end, I feel like it's a two-way street. When we see that there is change that's happening, then we also adhere to it. Like, if we can see that there are people who are capable of actually making concrete change, of good change, then we also bring ourselves to believe that we can do the same. But then it's also another thing for us to make an initiative on ourselves, be the one to initiate the change instead of just waiting on other people to do it for us. So
For me, political apathy should be addressed by working hand in hand with the local government units in spreading awareness of how their votes or how their presence in the local government is much needed. Specifically because the decisions again that we make are what states the life of our fellow people for the upcoming years.
First, I think it starts with the people. First and foremost, with political candidates, they should provide platforms that are relevant. Because for me, if a political candidate can give out relevant and important political platforms, then people will actually feel the need and see the need to vote and to participate in political matters. So I think first and foremost is we should always provide relevant solutions to problems, not just one-time, big-time solutions. We should always be sustainable.
I think political apathy could be addressed by really going back to the roots of institutions like the government. Before really thinking of big one-time projects, we really have to go back to the basics. So for example, here in school, we could really focus on student services so that we could build the credibility and we could build the reach of the student government to the needs of the students on a daily basis. But more than that also, we should continue to be more consultative so that people feel the presence of the student government and people understand that they are there to serve the batch and to serve the entire university.
In some aspect, politics may indeed be viewed as an unhealthy or toxic affair, but this should never hinder us in engaging in such matters. As reflected in this study, the youth recognizes that political apathy does exist in the society. Addressing it would require a collective effort, not just by those in position of power, but by the average citizen as well. After all, for democracy to function properly, we the citizens must take it upon ourselves to make the system work.